King Zorgzol's four-fingered hand traced the holographic contours of the blue planet rotating slowly before him. Earth. Even the name was primitive, describing merely the dominant element of its crust, rather than honoring the greatness of its rulers or the glory of its civilization. Pathetic. Such a small world to cause such concern among my advisors, he murmured, his voice a rasping hiss that echoed through the obsidian chamber of his flagship's war room. The Craxian Empire had stood unchallenged for 17 millennia. 47 species across 3 spiral arms of the galaxy had fallen before their might. Some had fought with antimatter weapons and quantum defenses. Others had attempted diplomacy, offering rare resources and technological knowledge. A few had even tried to flee, abandoning their homeworlds for the cold embrace of deep space. All had failed. All had been conquered. Earth would be no different. My lord, General Vexnar approached with the customary 3-step bow, his crimson battle armor reflecting the blue glow of the hologram. The final battle preparations are complete. 10,000 warships await your command. The jump to the Sol system can commence within the hour. Zorgzol's lipless mouth curled into what passed for a smile among his species. Excellent. And what of these transmissions your reconnaissance teams intercepted? Vexinar's segmented eyes narrowed slightly. The closest a Craxian could come to showing discomfort. Unusual, my king. The humans are primitive, yes. Their spacecraft can barely escape their own gravity well. Their weapons rely on chemical propellants and crude fission technology. And yet, speak plainly, General. What troubles you about these apes? Their innovation rate is unprecedented, my lord. In the mere century we have been observing them, they have advanced from combustion engines to rudimentary AI systems. They fight constantly among themselves over resources, territory, ideology. Yet each conflict spurs remarkable technological leaps. Zorgzol dismissed this with a contemptuous wave of his clawed hand. All the more reason to strike now, before they become a genuine nuisance. The Succession Council grows impatient. My rule must be cemented with a conquest worthy of the Craxian annals. The hologram shifted, displaying the formation of the massive invasion fleet, a swarm of angular, metallic vessels stretching beyond visual range, each capable of reducing a city to molten slag within minutes. At the center floated Zorgzol's flagship, the inevitable Dominion, a leviathan of dark metal and pulsing energy 5 kilometers in length. The humans will break like all the others, Zorgzol declared, ending the discussion. 300 million kilometers away, Lieutenant Commander Eliza Rise of the United Earth Survey vessel Magellan watched her sensor officer's face drain of color. What is it, Taurus? Another asteroid cluster. And no, Commander. Torres looked up from his console, eyes wide with disbelief. I'm detecting multiple, thousands, of objects appearing at the edge of the Kuiper Belt. Energy signatures unlike anything in our database. They're moving toward the inner system at impossible speeds. Rise was at his station in 3 quick strides, her experienced eyes scanning the readouts. Are you certain these aren't instrument errors? I've run 3 diagnostic sequences. The readings are consistent. For a moment, the only sound on the bridge was the soft hum of the life support systems. Then Commander Rise straightened, her jaw set. Plot an emergency jump back to Earth, maximum burn. Encrypt all sensor data with my personal authorization codes. Her voice remained steady despite the cold dread settling in her stomach. Humanity just made first contact, and they're not coming in peace. The Magellan turned, its engines flaring bright against the darkness, racing to deliver a warning that would forever change human history. The emergency session of the United Nations Security Council stretched into its 14th hour. The Magellan's sensor logs played on an endless loop on the chamber's massive screens, irrefutable evidence of humanity's greatest nightmare. We are not alone, and they are coming to kill us. This data cannot leave this room, insisted the Chinese ambassador, his usually impassive face drawn with tension. The panic would destroy global markets before the aliens fire a single shot. With respect, Mr. Ambassador, Commander Reyes stepped forward, still wearing the flight suit she'd had on when her ship made its emergency landing at Kennedy Space Center. Secrecy is a luxury we cannot afford. The Craxian fleet will reach Earth in less than 2 weeks. We need every resource, every mind, every hand working on our defense. The U.S. President nodded grimly. Commander Reyes is right. History will remember this moment not as the beginning of our extinction, but as the day humanity finally understood what truly matters. 12 hours later, a joint broadcast reached every television, radio, computer, and mobile device on the planet. Old enemies watched the same footage, heard the same words, and faced the same choice: stand together or die alone. In Delhi, Dr. Sophia Chen watched the announcement from her university laboratory, a half-eaten sandwich forgotten beside her keyboard. 3 years had passed since the International Physics Conference, where her paper on quantum shield theory had been laughed out of the main hall, dismissed as science fiction by her peers. Her phone rang. It was the Indian Prime Minister's office. "Dr. Chen, we need you in New Delhi immediately. A military transport is already en route to your location." Half a world away, Admiral James Harris stood on the bridge of the U.S. Nimitz, watching as engineers swarmed over his carrier's deck, converting fighter jets into makeshift spacecraft. Similar scenes played out on vessels across the globe. Russian submarines being retrofitted with experimental propulsion systems, Chinese aircraft carriers transformed into launch platforms, European cruise ships repurposed as floating factories. "Admiral." His XO handed him a secure tablet. "The Provisional United Earth Defense Council has been formed. You've been appointed Supreme Commander of the Combined Space Forces." Harris stared at the document, its digital signatures representing nations that had been pointing nuclear weapons at each other just days earlier. "God help us all," he muttered, then straightened his shoulders. "Broadcast to all ships in the multinational fleet. As of this moment, we are no longer American, Russian, Chinese, or European vessels. We are Earth's first and last line of defense." In the Himalayan foothills, a Cold War-era bunker carved deep into the mountains hummed back to life. Dr. Chen stepped through blast doors that hadn't opened in decades into a cavernous chamber already filling with equipment and personnel from 30 different countries. "Welcome to Project Bulwark," said a silver-haired woman in a lab coat emblazoned with the newly created United Earth insignia. "I'm Dr. Ivanova, formerly of Roscosmos. Your quantum shield theory. We're implementing it." Chen stared at the massive particle accelerator being assembled before her eyes. "That's impossible. The energy requirements alone would. Every nuclear plant on the planet has been redlined to provide power," Ivanova interrupted. "Every superconductor, every battery, every generator. The entire global grid is being reconfigured as we speak." For a moment, Chen glimpsed the scale of what was happening. Billions of humans, their differences set aside, their resources pooled, their ingenuity unleashed without restriction for the first time in history. "How long do we have?" she asked. 11 days, 14 hours, Ivanova replied. "The question is, what can humanity accomplish in that time, when our extinction is the alternative?" Dr. Chen rolled up her sleeves. "Let's find out." King Zorgzol's command chair adjusted to his shifting weight as the Craxian fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Sol system. The holo-display rendered the scene before him. A distant yellow star and its unremarkable planets. Soon to be his planets. "My lord," his sensor officer reported, mandibles clicking in confusion. "We're detecting an unusual network of devices extending beyond the 9th planet's orbit." Zorxel leaned forward. "Show me." The display shifted, revealing thousands of small objects arranged in a complex 3-dimensional grid. They weren't weapons platforms or defensive installations. They appeared to be repurposed satellites, communication beacons, and scientific instruments, hastily modified and strategically positioned. "The humans have created an early warning system," General Vexnar observed, his tone betraying genuine surprise. "They knew we were coming." "Impossible," Zorgzal hissed. "Their detection technology is primitive. They couldn't possibly have." "My king," the communications officer interrupted, a serious breach of protocol that spoke to the urgency of his message. "We've identified the human vessel that monitored our fleet's assembly. A small scout ship escaped our detection range 8 planetary rotations ago." Silence fell over the command deck. The implications were clear. The humans had been warned. They had prepared. This would not be the simple conquest Zorgzal had promised his succession council. "It changes nothing," the Craxian king finally declared, standing to his full 3-meter height. "Send the first wave of destroyers. Clear a path through their sensor grid. Let us see what other surprises these mammals have attempted in their final days." 500 Craxian destroyers surged forward, sleek predators advancing toward helpless prey. Their weapons systems targeted the nearest sensor nodes, preparing to obliterate the humans' primitive warning network. In her Himalayan bunker, Dr. Chen watched the tactical display with calm intensity. "They're taking the bait," she said, her voice steady despite having slept only 12 hours in the past 5 days. "Admiral Harris, are you seeing this?" "Affirmative." Harris replied from his command post on the converted space station Unity, formerly the International Space Station, now humanity's Forward Command Center. "Craxian Vanguard is advancing exactly as predicted. Quantum mine deployment sequence is ready on your mark." Chen looked at the international team of physicists surrounding her. Faces that had once criticized her theories now watched with tense anticipation. She took a deep breath. "Activate the key field." Throughout the void beyond Pluto, the seemingly insignificant human sensors suddenly emitted synchronized pulses of energy, not directed at the Craxian ships, but at the space between them. The fabric of reality itself shimmered as quantum entanglement protocols executed with precision. Aboard the lead Craxian destroyer, the tactical officer barely had time to register the energy spike before his ship imploded, crushed by a localized distortion in space-time that converted matter directly to energy. Throughout the Vanguard formation, the same scenario repeated. Ships compressed to infinitesimal points or torn apart by quantum shears in reality itself. In the span of 37 seconds, 300 Craxian warships ceased to exist. On the inevitable Dominion's command deck, stunned silence gave way to chaos as damage reports and frantic communications flooded in. General Vexnar stared at the tactical display in disbelief. "Impossible," he whispered. "Their technology was assessed at level 3. This is level 8 weaponry at minimum." King Zorgzal's claws gouged deep furrows into the armrests of his command chair. "Send the world breakers," he snarled, rage eclipsing caution. "All of them. I want that defensive grid obliterated. I want their weapons platforms destroyed. I want their homeworld in flames." As orders echoed through the Craxian fleet, Admiral Harris watched the enemy regroup. "Phase 1 complete," he reported to the United Earth Defense Council. "The enemy has suffered significant losses and is responding with anger rather than strategy." Dr. Chen's quantum minds performed beyond expectations. "And now?" asked the council chairwoman, her voice tight with tension. Harris's weathered face showed no emotion as he responded. "Now we find out if humanity's desperation and ingenuity can stand against an enemy that still outnumbers us 1,000 to 1. The asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter had been humanity's first serious mining frontier just 5 years earlier. Now it was their last serious defensive line. Admiral Harris's command shuttle weaved through the transformed belt. What had once been scattered mining outposts now formed the backbone of a desperate guerrilla defense network. Civilian mining vessels bristled with hastily mounted weapons, hollowed-out asteroids, concealed missile platforms. Navigation beacons had been reprogrammed to confuse enemy targeting systems. "Report," Harris ordered as he entered the command deck of the Ares, a former Mars colonial transport now serving as his forward base of operations. "World Breaker Squadron advancing in standard Craxian attack formation." Lieutenant Kim responded, gesturing to the tactical display. 150 capital ships, each with fighter support. Total hostile count, approximately 2,000 vessels. Harris studied the formation. After the devastating losses from the quantum mines, the Craxians had adjusted tactics, spreading their ships to minimize casualties from area effect weapons. Smart, but predictable. They still think conventionally, Harris murmured. Status of our fleet: 612 combat-capable vessels, Commander Rodriguez replied, her expression grim. Mostly retrofitted civilian craft. Actual military vessels number 83. Harris nodded, absorbing the stark numerical disadvantage. Deploy according to Hornet's Nest protocols. Remind all captains, hit and fade. No heroics. We can't match them, ship to ship. Throughout the asteroid belt, Earth's cobbled-together defense fleet took position. Unlike the uniform, orderly Craxian formations, the human vessels clustered in seemingly random patterns, using asteroids for cover and the belt's natural dust clouds for concealment. The first wave of world-breaker vessels entered the belt, massive dreadnoughts whose silhouettes resembled ancient swords. Their energy weapons lanced out, vaporizing asteroids to clear a path. The second wave followed, scanners searching for human ships. Now, Harris ordered. From behind larger asteroids, human attack craft darted forward, unleashing salvos of missiles before quickly retreating. Mining lasers, once used to slice ore, carved through alien hull plating. Retrofitted mining charges, designed to crack asteroids, detonated against Craxian shields. The world breakers returned fire, their superior targeting systems struggling to lock onto the smaller, faster human vessels as they ducked back into the protective clutter of the belt. When Craxian fighters pursued, they found themselves lured into narrow channels between large asteroids where cross-firing human defense platforms waited. For 3 hours, the battle raged across a 1,000,000-kilometer front. The humans inflicted disproportionate damage, but mathematics remained merciless. Human ships were being destroyed at an unsustainable rate. 60% of our forces lost or disabled, Rodriguez reported, her voice steady despite the sweat beading on her forehead. The Craxians have penetrated our inner defense line. Their casualties are significant, but not critical. Harris watched the tactical display, where red icons representing Craxian ships continued their inexorable advance toward the inner planets. His expression remained impassive, but his right hand clenched into a fist by his side. Authorize Sunflare Protocol, he said quietly. Rodriguez's eyes widened. Sir, the solar drones haven't completed final testing. The focusing array cold. We're out of time, Commander. Harris met her gaze. Every minute we delay, the Craxians get closer to Earth. Execute Sunflare now. On the solar side of Mercury, hundreds of stealth platforms that had been positioned days earlier suddenly activated. Each unfurled massive reflective sails, capturing the sun's raw energy and focusing it onto precisely calculated points in space. As the concentrated solar energy slammed into the flank of the advancing Craxian formation, dozens of alien ships reported shield failures as their systems overloaded. For the first time in the battle, the alien advance faltered. On the bridge of the Ares, the cheer went up. Harris allowed himself the ghost of a smile. Regroup and press the advantage, he ordered. The Craxians just learned that in our solar system, even the sun fights for humanity. King Zorgzel's throne room aboard the inevitable Dominion had fallen ominously silent. The battle display showed the unthinkable, the elite world-breaker squadron faltering, their flawless military record tarnished by primitive humans with repurposed mining equipment and mirrors. This delay is unacceptable, Zorgzel finally hissed, rising from his throne. His inner eyelids narrowed to slits. Bypass their remaining defenses. All ships. Maximum acceleration toward the target planet. I will glass their surface personally. General Vexnar executed a respectful bow, though concern flickered across his features. My king, our forward elements are still engaged. if we divert our main force. The longer we fight in their asteroid field, the more ships we lose to their guerrilla tactics. Zorgzal interrupted. These humans understand their local terrain. We will deny them that advantage. Throughout the Craxian Armada, engines flared as the invasion force regrouped and accelerated toward the inner planets, leaving smaller contingents to continue the asteroid belt engagement. The massive fleet reoriented into a spearhead formation, with the inevitable Dominion protected at its center. On the command deck of Unity Station, Admiral Harris watched the tactical display with narrowed eyes. "They're making a run for Earth," he announced to his assembled officers. "All remaining ships, fall back to defensive position Echo." The remnants of Earth's fleet disengaged from the asteroid belt battle, racing to position themselves between the Craxian Armada and their homeworld. The maneuver left a suspicious gap in Earth's defenses, a clear path straight to the planet. In his throne room, Zorgzal bared his teeth in the Craxian approximation of a smile. "They flee before our might, as all species do. Prepare planetary bombardment sequences." The Craxian Armada surged forward, accelerating through the gap in Earth's defenses. As they approached the halfway point between Mars and Earth, their sensors detected a large object directly in their path, the International Space Station, its solar arrays fully extended, drifting seemingly helplessly. "A primitive habitat module," Vexnar observed. "Shall we destroy it?" "Ignore it," Zorgzal commanded. "It poses no threat." The Craxian fleet continued its advance, passing within kilometers of the station. At that precise moment, Dr. Chen's voice echoed through encrypted channels. "Initiate pulse." The repurposed space station, now the largest electromagnetic pulse generator ever constructed, unleashed its power. Wave after wave of electromagnetic energy radiated outward, temporarily disabling electronic systems throughout the nearby Craxian vessels. Ship after ship went dark, their weapons, shields, and engines momentarily frozen. From concealed positions near Venus, Earth's remaining fleet, their systems specifically hardened against the pulse, suddenly emerged, engines burning hot as they charged directly into the heart of the disabled Craxian formation. "All ships, weapons free," Admiral Harris ordered, his voice resolute over the command channel. "Remember humanity. Remember Earth. Show them what we're made of." Nuclear-tipped missiles designed for asteroid mining found new purpose, detonating against Craxian hull plating. Civilian passenger shuttles, retrofitted with improvised ramming prows, slammed into larger vessels. Scientists and engineers served alongside military personnel, applying theoretical knowledge to practical warfare in real time. For the first time in the battle, the humans were on the offensive. In the Himalayan bunker, Dr. Chen watched the tactical feed with her team. "The EMP worked," a junior physicist exclaimed. "But how long will their systems stay offline?" "Not long enough," Chen replied, her eyes fixed on the display. "The Craxians will recover. When they do, they'll be closer to Earth than ever, and very, very angry." The young physicist swallowed hard. "What happens then?" Chen's expression remained determined as she turned toward the quantum shield prototype humming in the center of the chamber. "Then we show them that humanity doesn't just fight with weapons and ships. We fight with the fundamental forces of the universe itself." The inevitable Dominion systems returned to full functionality with a cascading series of alerts and warning klaxons. King Zorgzal gripped his command throne, mandibles clicking in barely suppressed rage as damage reports flooded the tactical displays. 27 capital ships destroyed, 42 severely damaged, 305 support craft lost. General Vexnar's voice remained professional, though his secondary respiratory slits flared with agitation. "The humans exploited our system's vulnerability to electromagnetic disruption, a weakness we did not know they were aware of. They should not have been capable of generating a pulse of that magnitude," Zorgzal snarled. "How is a species that barely escaped their own atmosphere matching tactics with the greatest empire in the galaxy?" The tactical officer approached, performing a nervous submission gesture before speaking. "My king, we've analyzed their attack patterns. The humans aren't following any known combat doctrine. Each engagement appears improvised. Zorgzal's eyes narrowed. Enough. I will tolerate no more delays, no more unexpected reversals. Deploy the Void Sphere. A hushed silence fell over the command deck. The Void Sphere was a weapon of last resort, typically reserved for species that had rejected surrender after conventional planetary bombardment. My king, Vexnar ventured carefully, the Void Sphere has never been deployed in a system with inhabited planets we intend to colonize. The gravitational disruption cold. I am not interested in colonization, Zorgzal interrupted, rising to his full height. I am interested in demonstrating the cost of defiance to every watching species in our empire. Deploy the Void Sphere. Now. From the underside of the inevitable dominion, a massive device detached, its obsidian surface absorbing rather than reflecting light. The device activated, generating a precisely controlled gravitational anomaly, a miniature black hole suspended between Earth and its moon. In orbit above Earth, Admiral Harris watched as sensors detected the growing gravitational distortion. "What in God's name is that?" he whispered. "Some kind of artificial singularity," responded Dr. Ivanova, who had joined him on the Unity station after the Himalayan bunker was evacuated. "The gravitational readings are off the charts, if it grows any larger." She didn't need to finish the sentence. Harris could see the simulation on the tactical display, Earth's oceans bulging toward the anomaly, tectonic plates shifting, the atmosphere itself beginning to distort. "Get me Dr. Chen," Harris ordered. Chen's face appeared on the command screen, the evacuation shuttle behind her packed with physicists and equipment. "I see it, Admiral," she said before he could speak. "The Craxians have weaponized gravity itself. Please tell me you have a countermeasure." Chen's eyes reflected the grim determination that had become characteristic of humanity in its darkest hour. "The quantum shield network isn't just a defensive barrier, Admiral. It's a way to manipulate fundamental forces, including gravity. Theoretical until now," Harris noted. "Everything about this war has been theoretical until we made it reality," Chen replied. She turned to her team. "Activate the QSN. Full power." Around the Earth, thousands of small satellites that had been deployed in the days before the Craxian arrival suddenly activated. Each projected a precisely calibrated quantum field, creating an interlocking network that enveloped the planet. Within seconds, the gravitational pull of the Void Sphere encountered resistance, not a physical barrier, but a reconfiguration of the underlying quantum fabric of spacetime. On Earth, power grids across entire continents faltered as every available watt was diverted to the shield network. Cities plunged into darkness. Hospitals switched to emergency generators. In the night skies above, civilians watched in silent awe as flashes of light marked the battle for their planet's survival. "It's working," Chen reported, her voice strained as she monitored the readings. "The shield is holding." Admiral Harris nodded, his weathered face illuminated by the tactical displays. But for how long? Chen had no answer. The quantum equations gave humanity a fighting chance, but the Craxians' technological advantage remained overwhelming. Unless something changed, it was only a matter of time. Lieutenant Commander Dravk of the Craxian Special Forces crouched in the underbrush, his adaptive camouflage blending perfectly with the surrounding vegetation. The infiltration had been textbook. Drop pods launched during the chaos of the orbital battle, landing in remote areas to establish forward bases for the coming ground invasion. His tactical display showed his 12 warrior squads spread through the Ukrainian wheat field, undetected and in optimal ambush formation. Their mission: eliminate local leadership and disrupt human communications. Approaching vehicles detected, his second-in-command reported through their neural link. Primitive combustion engines, 2 ground transports, estimated 8 to 10 humans. Minimal armor, no energy signatures. Dravk bared his teeth in anticipation. Hold positions, standard elimination protocol. The first human vehicle, a mud-spattered pickup truck, rounded the bend in the dirt road. Dravk raised his particle rifle, targeting systems locking onto the driver. The second vehicle, an equally worn farm truck, followed closely behind. The Craxian squad fired simultaneously, expecting the brief satisfaction of another efficient elimination. Instead, the wheat around them exploded in a coordinated pattern of improvised explosive devices, simple fertilizer bombs buried hours earlier. 3 warriors died instantly. The human vehicles accelerated, their occupants, local farmers armed with hunting rifles, firing with surprising accuracy at the now exposed Craxian positions. Ambush. Retreat to secondary position. Dravk ordered, stunned by the reversal. How had primitive humans detected their presence? How had they prepared a counter-ambush so quickly? Similar reports flooded in from Craxian landing sites worldwide. In Canada, elite hunters tracked and eliminated Craxian infiltrators using techniques honed for stalking moose through dense forest. In Kenya, Maasai warriors located alien drop pods using tracking skills passed down through generations. In the mountains of Afghanistan, fighters familiar with guerrilla warfare systematically isolated and destroyed technologically superior forces using millennia-old tactics refined through countless conflicts. Aboard the inevitable Dominion, King Zorgzol received the ground force updates with growing disbelief. "My king." A communications officer approached cautiously. Lieutenant Dravk transmitted his final report before his position was overrun. Zorgzol gestured for the officer to continue. The officer's voice trembled slightly as he read. "These humans don't surrender. They adapt. Every defeat makes them stronger." In orbit, Admiral Harris executed the final phase of Earth's strategy. The remaining human ships, barely 100 vessels, many damaged and operating on backup systems, formed a circular formation and accelerated toward the Craxian command vessel. "They're attempting a suicide run," General Vexnar observed, watching the tactical display. "Desperate, but ineffective against our shields." Zorgzol nodded in agreement, a fitting end to their resistance. Aboard the lead human vessel, Harris gave the command, "Deploy the culture bombs." From the human ships streamed thousands of small objects, not explosives or weapons, but communication devices broadcasting on all frequencies: music, art, literature, and history. The full spectrum of human creativity and emotion flooded Craxian communication systems. The alien fleet's neural networks, designed to process tactical data and military communications, were overwhelmed by the sheer volume and emotional intensity of human culture. Shakespeare's sonnets interrupted battle commands. Mozart's symphonies disrupted targeting algorithms. The Declaration of Independence corrupted tactical displays. In the confusion, 5 human vessels breached the perimeter around the inevitable Dominion. As boarding shuttles launched toward the Craxian flagship, Harris's voice echoed through the command channel. For 10,000 years, they conquered through superior technology. Today, they learn what makes humans different. We don't just fight with weapons. We fight with our hearts, our minds, and our unbreakable spirit. The throne room of the inevitable Dominion shuddered as another explosion rocked the massive flagship. Emergency lighting cast crimson shadows across alien consoles, giving the chamber the appearance of a hellscape from human mythology. King Zorgzol stood before his command throne, surrounded by his royal guard, a dozen warriors in ceremonial but lethal battle armor. General Vexnar's voice crackled through the damaged communication system. "My king, human boarding parties have breached decks 7 through 12. Our internal defenses are failing. They're using our own ship schematics against us." "Impossible," Zorgzol hissed. "Our encryption was broken," came a human voice as the throne room doors parted. Admiral Harris stepped through, leading a small team of Earth's finest soldiers. His uniform was torn and bloodied, but his stance remained commanding. Behind him, his team secured the entrance, their weapons, a mixture of human firearms, and captured Craxian energy weapons, trained on the alien guards. "Your species is an anomaly," Zorgzol said, mandibles clicking in agitation. We have conquered civilizations with technology millennia beyond yours. How do you resist? Harris removed his helmet, showing his face to an alien for the first time. Blood trickled from a cut above his left eye, and 3 days of stubble covered his jaw. He looked exhausted but undefeated. Because we've been fighting ourselves for our entire history, Harris replied, his voice steady. Every weapon you unleashed, we've imagined using against ourselves. Every tactic, we've countered in our own wars. We didn't develop our technology to match yours. We developed our tenacity. Harris took a step forward. Your species conquered 47 worlds, and each one fell the same way. You expect every new species to follow the same playbook. Humans don't have a playbook. We improvise. In the Himalayan bunker, Dr. Chen monitored the confrontation through Admiral Harris's body camera. Her team worked frantically around her, finalizing the quantum entanglement device that represented Earth's final gambit. It's ready, Dr. Ivanova announced, her fingers flying across the control panel. Entanglement established with all remaining Craxian vessels. Chen took a deep breath and activated the secure channel to Harris. Admiral, the QED is online. Every ship in the Craxian fleet is now quantum-linked to the inevitable Dominion's power core. Whatever happens to their flagship happens to their entire fleet. On the inevitable Dominion's throne room, Harris received the message and allowed himself a small smile. He turned back to Zorixel. Your entire fleet is now hostage to your flagship's survival, Harris explained, gesturing to a tactical display showing thousands of Craxian vessels suddenly linked by ethereal threads of quantum energy. For the first time in your empire's history, you're not the one holding all the cards. King Zorixel stared at the display, his alien features unreadable to human eyes. The throne room fell silent as the implications sank in. The Craxian monarch, who had led his species to dominance across 3 spiral arms of the galaxy, faced a choice no predecessor had ever encountered. What are your terms? He finally asked, the words clearly unfamiliar on his tongue. Harris straightened, speaking not just for himself, but for all humanity. Immediate withdrawal from our solar system. Recognition of Earth and all human colonies as sovereign and inviolable territory. A formal non-aggression pact between our species. Zorixel's secondary breathing slits flared in what might have been the Craxian equivalent of bitter laughter. You ask not just for survival, but for recognition. You are either insane or truly remarkable. We're human, Harris replied simply. We're both. As news of the surrender terms spread across Earth, people emerged from shelters to see the remaining alien ships retreating from the solar system. The sky, which had briefly become a battlefield, returned to its familiar peaceful blue. Humanity had faced extinction, and not only survived but triumphed. The stars, once a mystery, now represented humanity's future. The species that had nearly destroyed itself countless times throughout history had finally found unity in the face of an external threat. And in doing so, discovered its greatest strength was not its weapons or technology, but its boundless capacity for adaptation, innovation, and cooperation when faced with impossible odds.